Okay, I think we're live.
Ibrahim, can you?
Okay, Bismillah. So, Assalamu alaikum everyone, and welcome to the monthly Sheikhs breaks with Amir and Khalik from AEC. This is a Zoom interactive session, and the objective is to get as much community engagement as possible. So we want to hear what you've got to say, essentially. So Jazakallahu khair to everyone who attended the last one, the Black Lives Matter. Went pretty well as far as I know, as far as I could tell, but we still would like some feedback from that session and all the other sessions we do, inshallah. So without any further ado, I'll just give you a little bit of background as to what Sheikhs Breaks is about and how it started. Essentially, it sort of mushroomed from Sheikh Mudaffra's Quran recitation during Ramadan, where Brother Khalik started freestyling during Sheikhs breaks, where he went off for a little glass of, not a glass of water because it was Ramadan, so probably to do extra dua, just have a rest. So anyway, it came about that Khalik was talking sort of extempore about various things, and it sort of went from there. So that would be a good time to segue into introducing Khalik. So Khalik, make yourself known.
Hey, Assalamu alaikum guys. How you guys doing? I hope all is well. Great introduction, but I think we did it very well together. It was kind of started off with just one or two of me doing some bits and pieces, but went on to be a dynamic duo of Amr and myself. But yeah, it was great fun, and I can just echo what guys, can you just mute your lines? I am trying to keep you guys muted at the same time as well. But again, I was going to say that the last session was amazing. It was a great topic with some great guests as well, and you know, I just really kind of enjoyed that totally. And today is hopefully going to be a bit better, as always.
Excellent. So our guests today are, well, everyone, but we've got a small panel of Adil Bashlani and Habiba Muhammad Kamal, who will be helping to navigate us through some questions based around the COVID experience, really, for the Muslim youth. But we will hopefully sort of expand on that and see where that takes us. We're still waiting for another guest, but I think we'll crack on and see if Abdullah joins us later. So, Khalik, I just wanted to ask before we introduce the guest formally, if you could just give a bit of background on today's sort of subject from perhaps a spiritual perspective.
No, he's spotlighted, I think.
Guys, can you hear me okay?
We can hear you, but we're just, have you spotlighted yourself, Khalik, or?
No, I haven't. Can you see me okay?
No, it's fine. Yeah, you're fine. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, assalamu alaikum. Nahmadu wa nusalli ala rasulil kareem, amma ba'd. So today I wanted to really say a little bit about how, for me, this topic has...
But just a little bit.
Just very shortly, very quickly, about how kind of I feel very close to this topic on multiple levels. I think obviously because I've got children, 4 children, as most of you guys know. One of them is a teenager, and you know, all younger from there onwards. And you know, when I was growing up, I remember I was once at a masjid with my grandfather, and there was a couple of kids running around in the background whilst we were praying Zuhr or Asr. It was a long prayer, and kids would kind of go to their father and have a laugh and a giggle. And somebody later on came up to my grandfather and said, "Oh, it's not a good idea for having kids at the masjid." And he mentioned a hadith from the Prophet where he used to you know, prolong his sujood when the children used to come and hang off of his shoulders. And that kind of resonated with me, and I felt that it was something that kind of when I look at my kids, it doesn't matter how big they grow, they're always kind of hanging off on my shoulders. And I don't know if that's the same for yourself, Amir, but for me, and that's why I think this topic is really important for me. And I think there was another hadith that I wanted to quickly mention, and that is that, we're all shepherds of our flock, both the parents are, and actually the kids are always participate in that too. So, nonetheless, I was going to say that for me, it's very important. And I think it's got a very high level of importance for us to look after our youth and for us to hear, a little bit about from their perspective, what's going on.
Subhanallah. I mean, like you said, I'm still definitely hanging off my dad's shoulders. There's no doubt about that. Okay. So excellent. Jazakallah khair, Khaliq. So can we introduce Adil and Habiba? So Habiba, would you like to just introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about yourself?
Assalamu alaikum. I was going to say my name's Habiba. What do you mean by tell a little bit about myself? Sorry.
So how old are you, Habiba? Where are you at school? And, what are your plans, for the very near future in terms of college, university, etc.? Anything at all?
Okay, I'm 18. I just left St. Olave's and I'm going to the University of York in September.
Oh, congratulations, Mubarak.
Thank you.
What will you be studying?
Medicine.
Oh wow! Okay.
Mashallah, mashallah, that's amazing.
I didn't realize. It's one thing I didn't ask you in the previous conversations, but excellent, mashallah. Adil, where are you at these days?
Hi, assalamu alaikum everyone. I'm 18 as well. Went to O-Levels as well, and I'm gonna do a gap year this year, inshallah. And inshallah go uni next year. So this year to work and stuff.
Good man, gap year. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with the gap year. So what are your plans for gap year, Adil?
I've got to do an exam in October, and then after that, I just want to work a bit and then travel, see where life takes me.
Cool. Okay, excellent. So I'm not sure if Abdullah's joined yet, but Abdullah James, if you are online, then do make yourself known. Otherwise, we'll carry on. So, as I said before in the introduction, we wanted to talk a little bit around the sort of the lockdown scenario for youth, specifically the Muslim youth in our community, to see if there's been any thing we can unearth and sort of discuss at a community level. So since we're doing this session on Zoom, I think the first question, Adil and Habiba, whoever wants to go first, is how have you found the Zoom experience? I don't know if you were on school with Zoom or you're using Zoom sort of as part of your social setup. How have you found that experience, Habiba?
I didn't really use Zoom that much because I think we had Teams, so we were just submitting homework. But in terms of communicating with like friends and stuff, it was kind of weird because obviously you normally see them every single day, but it was more of a checking up on them like every other week. So it wasn't that bad.
Cool. I mean, you mentioned Teams. I mean, Brother Irfan, I think he's on here. He's always going on about Teams. Apparently it's better than Zoom, but I think it's sort of more of a classroom thing. So when I mentioned Zoom, I meant Zoom, Teams, FaceTime, Skype, whatever it is. What I was getting at is sort of drilling down into that sort of digital communication versus real life communication, which we haven't had much of during lockdown. I mean, were you around a lot of family? Did you still see a lot of people during lockdown?
Not at the beginning of lockdown, but when lockdown started to ease, it was kind of weird when I saw my friends, because obviously we'd only seen each other through the screen, and it was kind of weird seeing them again. When it came to family, we had some family come over for Eid al-Fitr, so that was nice. But yeah, it wasn't as bad as you think.
So with family, there's already a bond there, but it's interesting what you said about friends, because my daughter sort of mentioned the same thing, that having had that Zoom connection with school friends for a whole term, when she actually met them in a socially distant sort of get together in the park, it was a bit awkward, and she said it was strange, it was weird, but that passed quickly. And so these are the things that are sort of wanting to look at. I mean, did you find that weirdness dissipated fairly quickly, or?
It was weird at first because I don't know how to describe it, but when you see your friends, and obviously you normally see them in a school setting, so now you've seen them outside the school and they're not on your screen, or you're not texting them, it's more like, I've missed you, but I can't hug you right now because of COVID. So it was kind of thing, yeah.
Right. Adil, how about you? How did you feel with that whole sort of online experience?
Yeah, well, it was good for what we had, I think. So, for example, we can't go meet each other, but at least we can see each other on the screen. Do you know what I mean? So it was good in that respect. But obviously, you need that personal connection as well, I think. So we're lacking that. But yeah, when I did see my mates again, it was all good for like 1 minute. That's it, and then it passed for me anyway. It was yeah. As soon as we just started talking, we clicked again, so it's fine.
Yeah. So it seems as though, although it was weird to begin with, it sort of dissipated fairly quickly. So you don't think that the lockdown had a big effect on sort of social interaction? You didn't lose any of that connection once you saw people again?
One thing is we just finished school, which I think was a big impact. And obviously we're year 13, so we're not going to see some people again. So some of those people, you kind of lose contact because, you know, those people that you talk to, but you're not really that close to. You lose contact with those people, but the people that you're close to, you'll try and maintain the friendship there.
Right. So in fact, I mean, it's good that you mentioned the exam situation. Khalid, can I pass over to you for the exam situation? I mean, we did want to sort of touch upon that because I know that has affected a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's sort of my question, was really around the examinations and how this has been a very, very different and unprecedented circumstance, really, for students. Gosh, GCSE, A-level, SATs. This is primary, secondary, BTECs, pretty much anybody who is doing any kind of academic, course was impacted. So how did that make you guys feel, really? Let's start with Habiba, actually. When you weren't unable to take the exams and kind of everything was riding on your mock exams.
Yeah, so when we ended school quite abruptly, I think everyone was already in exam season mode. So like your mindset was already ready to like take exams and start revising for them. So when school ended, it was more it was kind of weird because normally you spend most of your time revising. And then when it came out that it would be based upon our teacher predictions and the standardization process, it was kind of troubling to hear because you don't actually know how you're going. I mean, you have a rough idea, but you don't know after what your teachers have put down. You don't know what's going to happen when it comes to like the standardization. Yeah, so
Yeah.
it was kind of nerve-wracking, especially on results day.
How did you feel on results day?
Scared.
Fantastic. Alhamdulillah. Adil, how about yourself?
Yeah, so the exam situation is the same, but I think, alhamdulillah, we go to a good school, which affected the results quite a lot. I've heard stories of people who don't go to such a good school, but they're, mashallah, very able and clever students, but they didn't get the results they wanted. So I think that's a big problem that needs to be addressed as well.
Yeah, I think so. In terms of, like you said, alhamdulillah, you guys were very lucky. But really, when you first sort of found out the exams were cancelled, how did you feel from, from a your well-being or your mindset point of view?
Yeah, it's a good question. Well, obviously, you're kind of happy that exams are going to be cancelled because obviously no one really wants to study for exams, but also you're leaving in the fate of the government and the teachers, which is not great. And for that period, you're kind of lost. So you don't really know what you're going to do with your life, really. And you're just waiting for the exam results.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine how frightening that would have been. Habiba, what about when they announced that it wasn't just going to be your teachers who were going to decide? and it was going to be standardized. And how did that make you feel from a well-being and from a kind of a mindset point of view?
I think that just made me more anxious because they were gonna like do like a rank order, and obviously you don't know where you're going to be put on that list, and you don't know what's going to happen to your grade because of your placing on that list, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was just anxious, really.
Yeah, I can imagine. No, it's quite difficult. Did you sort of then get really kind of start praying a lot after you found out this?
Yes.
I mean, was it straight over to sort of trying to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for his help, right?
Yeah, so the whole basically it was kind of like, so exams were like over, so it was kind of a little bit of like relief, but then it kind of hit me that it's not all roses. So especially since it was Ramadan after, so that was a lot of pain, and then it was always in the back of my mind, so it always came up in prayer.
Yeah. I mean, I think again, you kind of, I guess you're not really prepared for something like this, right? So
Yeah.
and for your guys' age, it's a really sharp learning curve, I think. And mashallah, you guys, from the way you're telling us, done very, very well. Amir, would you like to add anything?
Yeah,
there?
so what I would really like to or hear from is someone that is going back to school. So perhaps someone at the GCSE level. I mean, I know you guys are done now essentially, and that you Adil mentioned that it's perhaps a bit of a sad end where you don't see everyone and you sort of wander off into the distance. But if there's anyone who could sort of add to the conversation in terms of actually going back to school, having had that perhaps disappointment of not sitting exams, or excitement of not sitting exams, and the lockdown and the summer, and then having to go back to school, how you feel about that. So I'm trying to flick through the participants, but Zain, if that's Irfan Zain, maybe you'd like to unmute yourself and add. Otherwise, we'll sort of move on. Perhaps I'll tap you up later.
Assalamualaikum, can you hear me?
Zain, thanks for joining. So Zain, so you heard my question. So I mean, I know you had that experience. Can you sort of give us some background to your situation?
Yes, so I was going to be doing GCSEs this summer. Obviously that didn't happen. So at the start, when we first found out, I was quite disappointed at the start because I didn't really know what that would mean for like me or my year, because obviously we'd done quite a lot of work leading up to it.
Were you quite disappointed, or were you absolutely gutted?
I was disappointed. I wasn't completely gutted because we weren't really sure what that meant.
Yeah.
But then after a while, it kind of just sunk in, realized that, okay, we didn't really have to do as much work as we would have had to do as well. So in that way, it was good. But then in the way that we might not get the best GCSE results possible, that's what kind of scared us.
Sure. And sort of, how do you feel about going back to school now? I mean, I know at your school they sort of basically just carried on and started. Well, I call it lower six, but I don't know what year that means now. But what was that, year 11?
Year 12.
12. So how do you feel about going back to school September?
I'm really not sure what to expect. We haven't really been told yet if we're going to be going back in full time, back to normal timetable, how it would be if we went into sixth form straight away, or if it's going to be kind of staggered. So we did start some lower sixth work at the end of last term, so in June. So we've got a little bit of a head start, but it's not. Yeah, we're just not sure if we're going to be going in full time yet, which is the main thing.
And how does that uncertainty kind of make you feel in terms of, I guess, the sort of COVID situation, obviously, and also school itself?
It's going to be it's going to be very different, of course, and that's kind of a bit concerning because the whole start of sixth form experience, so the freedom that you have, it's kind of being taken away. But yeah, that's probably the main thing, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, are you more concerned with loss of freedom or more concerned with COVID, or neither?
I'm sure that our school will like take necessary precautions so that they try and make sure that we don't have to worry about COVID. So I'm not quite worried about that. I'm just thinking about this. Yeah, the start of sixth form experience that we would kind of be taken away.
Yeah, so academic and social as well.
Yeah.
Cool. So I think we'll move on. We'll perhaps get back to the school thing, so I'm sure that will crop up again. But I wanted to ask you both, and then as well, anyone on the call who wants to add, what you guys have got up to sort of during lockdown, other than obviously academic stuff, to keep yourself busy, focused, and sane. Habiba.
Oh, so at the beginning of lockdown, I didn't really, most of the time I just spoke to my friends, but then as lockdown went on, I started gardening, and then I started cooking, then I started writing, then I started reading. So it was kind of like a progression of things that I would have done if I didn't normally have to revise for exams.
So gardening, talk to me about gardening, because I heard Michelle Obama do a big thing about this, and I know you mentioned it before. So tell us how the gardening came about, and what are you into? Do you mow the lawn, or
Okay. So basically I had to transform the garden. So first I had to like mow the lawn and stuff. Then I had to get like first I wanted to start with like a flower bed because I wanted to start a bit easier. So I got like the compost and the spades and stuff. And then I got like the plants, and I had to like it was kind of a lot of work because I didn't realize how much digging was involved. And then I also realized that I have to look after the plants quite a lot. But that kind of helped me get out of my own head because obviously we're at home a lot. So it kind of just helped me to like remind me to always like be in the garden or like be outside sometimes.
Wow, mashallah. And so you found that quite therapeutic?
Yeah.
So did you read up about it? I mean, how did how do you know which flowers to choose?
Oh, I didn't. Basically, I had to when I went to get the flowers, I had to ask for help. And then before I started the whole gardening, I had to watch a lot of gardening for beginners videos and read a lot of blogs because I didn't want them to die. They didn't die. Alhamdulillah.
Mubarak, alhamdulillah, exactly. So, jazakallah khair. So, Adil, you don't strike me, and I don't want to be, I don't want to, but you don't strike me as a gardener. What have you been up to?
No, I've been gardening.
Oh, seriously?
No, I'm joking. Yeah, to be honest, at the start of lockdown, my dad was a bit short of staff, so I used to work at the pharmacy for quite a bit, which kept me
Isn't
busy.
that slave labor though?
I was getting paid.
All right. That's not like Shafi Uncle to be fair. anyway, no, that's good. That's good. So, and how did you find that?
Yeah, it was good. Just like obviously because we're a pharmacy, we're allowed to get out of the house, and at the start of lockdown, no one else really was, unless it was to get.
Have you had to do any driving drop-offs? Were you doing that?
Yeah, we're doing deliveries as well, obviously to people who couldn't come out. Yeah, so that was good. And to be honest, during the start of lockdown, it was quite weird because I kind of enjoyed it because I didn't have free time for quite a while before. So obviously we were revising quite a lot. So the start of lockdown was pretty good. And then, but as it grew on, obviously it got a little bit more boring.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, it's the same for people working from home. I think initially, I think it was a bit of a buzz. I mean, it didn't work for me because I can't do that. But people who could work from home, I think initially found it, a dream come true, and then perhaps a bit later on, having to homeschool and all of that, and cooking and gardening, you want to get back to the office. But no, I mean, it's good if you were, working for your dad, you're out and about, seeing people as well. How did that affect? I mean, were you able to balance your studies and doing that as well? Did you find it helped?
Yeah, it wasn't much. Obviously, when we finished year 13, they're not that strict on the work that we were doing, and we finished in, I think it was June, even maybe April. No, even May. I don't know, May or June we finished, and so it wasn't much time that I spent like doing classes, and it was more just they set work and they expected you to hand it in. It wasn't like a Zoom class.
But are you missing the football, Friday football?
Of course, we started recently.
Oh, you started back?
Yeah, we started last week, Friday. Yeah.
So how does that work? Socially distanced?
So the FA have released that we're allowed to play, not socially distanced, just play normally. But then as soon as we're not playing, we have to socially distance.
Right.
So
I'm
basically
sure your dad's all over that with the spreadsheet.
Yeah.
So Habib, I'm assuming you don't play football, but since Adil's a gardener, you might be a footballer as well.
I used to, but not used to recently. I mean, used to as in like secondary school.
Okay. Excellent. So it sounds like you've both been keeping yourself busy. I'm going to drop back down to Zen. If you're still there, I know GCSE is like a bit of a mountain with about 400 subjects. So how did you take your mind off revision and lockdown, COVID nonsense?
So I did quite a lot of gardening at the start as well. Yeah, another of my dad's.
I feel left out.
Yeah, so I did quite a lot of that. I started running quite a lot as well, just to keep fit. My school also set up some work experience, some virtual work experience. So a lot of it was for a week where different people from different professions, they gave kind of lectures about their professions and how we could get into them. And then we got references for our CVs. When lockdown started to ease, I started going out playing football with some friends as well. And then recently I've been doing some tutoring for refugee children, like basic maths and English.
Mashallah, well done. So this gardening thing seems to be trending. Have I missed something? Is this sort of a social media thing?
I'm not sure. I think everyone's just got the kind of same idea that they're not really doing anything else. Might as well sort out their garden.
Right. Because my garden needs sorting out, by the way. So we'll chat later. Anyway.
Is that a hint?
I was going to say mine does too, right? So although I have been doing some gardening, actually getting the kids to do the gardening rather than me doing it.
In fact, Umar's dad at the masjid, he's desperately looking for gardeners to just tidy up the masjid. So you're all hired. Start Monday. Okay, excellent. So Khalid, do you want to take it further with the next question?
Yeah. So this one is quite a cracking one, and I hope you don't mind, but I'm gonna keep Zen on for a while longer and ask him from his perspective first, and work my way back through.
Actually, I know we said we wouldn't interrupt each other, but can I just interrupt you?
Go on then.
It's only Zen. I know I just sort of piled in and picked you out of the group, but can you just quickly introduce yourself and just tell people, how old you are, what year you are, because the others sort of introduced themselves, but I didn't give you a formal introduction.
Yeah, that's fine. My name's Zen. I'm 16, so I would have just finished year 11, going into lower sixth. And I'm at Eltham College, just waiting for my GCSE results next week, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Thank you.
Well, all the best. Well interrupted there, by the way, Amr. No, I mean, I just was going to ask you how you were kind of feeling about the whole situation with the masjid being closed during lockdown. I mean, obviously we talked a lot about the school and how you felt, because you were quite, I guess, regular with your dad. Did you feel like there was kind of a split between home and there, and almost like I guess it being a split personality type thing, and you kind of feeling that masjids are closed now? How do I feel about this whole scenario? Has your outlook changed in terms of doing worship at home with your family? Are you been missing the masjid? kind of, what is your sort of sense and feeling around the masjid while it's been during lockdown and when it's been sort of kind of unavailable?
I think that was for Zen, but actually anyone can answer.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, anyone can answer.
We're not assuming that everyone goes to Al-Emaan.
Yeah, I was just saying generally in the masjid, right?
It could be any masjid, but just that that scenario. Why don't we just do ladies first? Habiba, go for it.
So I feel like when the masjid's closed, obviously we didn't really have gym anymore. So it wasn't as if we lost the sense of community, but obviously at Jummah you feel it a lot more. And obviously you have the khutbah, so that was like a weekly reminder for you. So when the masjid's closed, it was more, well, what am I going to do at home to remind myself, or what am I going to do at home to basically keep in, like, strengthen my connection with Allah. So I think for me, it wasn't a huge difference. I think I felt it the most during Ramadan because obviously we didn't have Taraweeh, but I teach students, so I kind of stayed connected, if it made sense, and a lot of khutbahs went online, so it wasn't that bad.
Fantastic. Well, I mean, I think that's quite interesting that you actively actually try to make the effort to sort of still stay connected and had that realization, which is beautiful. How about you, Adil? How was it for yourself?
Yeah, I think Ramadan was the big one. Yeah, obviously we missed it a lot, but I also think there was something special about this Ramadan. I don't know, I think it was one of my favorite Ramadans because you had a lot of time to just work on yourself, and although you missed the mosque, your house kind of becomes the mosque in a way. So I thought that was really nice. But yeah, obviously now I'm missing it a lot, and not having like Eid Salah there was quite hard as well. But we just prayed it. We prayed this one recently on a farm, which was good, alhamdulillah.
Yeah. Alhamdulillah. Oh yeah, that was quite a nice thing. To a lot of the sort of the masjids and the communities did set up these outside socially distanced prayers, which is quite interesting. But did you feel that you felt quite disconnected up until Ramadan, or did you you and your family actively sort of made plans and kind of did things in terms of a step-by-step approach for a daily routine?
Yeah. Well, every time someone's home, we try and make Jamaat, which is pretty good. And then also for Jummah, we were doing one person. So me, my brother, or my dad, would do the khutbah every week and try and learn something new, which was good as well.
Fantastic. That's really good.
Yeah.
And how did you feel spiritually? Did you feel more connected? You're saying you felt it was a very special Ramadan. So did you feel very connected?
Yeah, but I don't think that's to do. I think it's partly to do with the mosque, but not being open, but also because obviously we didn't have school, and all my other Ramadans I've been busy with other stuff, whereas this Ramadan was just devoted to worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is good.
Yeah, mashallah, mashallah. I have to agree with you actually. I mean, from my perspective, I felt it was really not necessary. In fact, been really missing the masjid. But it's the fact that there was this whole the whole household was together, right? And it was just like we were able to sort of do things together, pray together, similar to yourself, learn new things together, and really built a routine without the pressures of everything else in life. And obviously, when especially at the year group that you're in, there's a lot of pressure throughout the year, right? A lot of coursework to do, a lot of homework to do, and still finding time for your worship is not easy. So I think I have to agree with you on that one. Amrit, did you want to add anything there before we ask that?
You know this, bro. I mean, Ramadan for me was transformational, and I've made that clear to all friends and family. The masjid, as you know, I'm very involved with, and my heart is there. But as Adil said, there was something very, very special about this Ramadan. Being at home, apart from the fact that I don't think I've had 6 weeks off for about 20 years, to have Ramadan at home with the kids, and basically not being able to go out meant that it's just you and Quran and the prayer mat and your heart, and that's it. I mean, it was unbelievable. And as I say that, there was also the matter of 4 Zoom sessions a day. With the masjid, but I mean, Speaker's Corner and Sheikh Mudaffir's, which is where Sheikhs breaks came from. So alhamdulillah. So yeah, no, it was transformational. As much as I missed the masjid, I'll never forget Ramadan 2020. So alhamdulillah for that.
Totally agreed.
Yeah, I think that's kind of a unanimous verdict from most people I've spoken to. 1 or 2 sort of said it didn't feel quite right without doing Taraweeh at the masjid. I mean, yeah, I missed it, but there's no doubt that there was something very special about this year. Actually, on that subject, there is the small matter of the masjid reopening tomorrow. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but it's a plug. There is going to be Salah, inshallah, tomorrow. So hopefully you will get an update on that. I know Umra's very hot on the emails. So
yeah, I think it's already gone out.
It's already gone out.
Yeah, it has already gone out. And yeah, great plug there. And I was going to say, don't forget your prayer mats if you're going to go, or your masks.
That's it.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Jazakallah khair for that. So, we're moving on to the next question, and it's a subject which actually I know a little bit about, but not as much as anyone 10 or 20 years younger. And this is the subject of computer games and social media. So it sort of ties in with the first question, actually, which is the Zoom, Skype, FaceTime scenario about how that might make communication impersonal and weird. Now, I'm not a gamer, so you guys are going to have to fill me in. Zain, I'm looking at you again, I'm afraid, as the 16-year-old on the chat, for some feedback on the game situation. Now, I know there are parents that are sort of starting to get a little bit fidgety about teenagers spending so much time gaming. I know a good friend of mine says basically he's lost his son to Fortnite, and he's got a gaming chair, and that's all he does basically, unless it's meal times, and sometimes it's meals in front of Fortnite. So, or is it Call of Duty? I don't know. I can't remember. But anyway, so Zen, fill me in. Is it Call of Duty or Fortnite? What's happening?
Call of Duty right now. Call of Duty Warzone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, fill me in. So, I mean, how much are you a gamer?
Yeah, I am.
That's
like
pretty solid, yes.
not like a serious full time, but no, I do play video games with my friends often.
Okay. And is it sort of a you're online with other friends playing at the same time? I mean, do you play with people you don't know?
No. So most of the time you're in a party with your friends, like a voice chat, and you'll be playing in the same lobby as them. So you'll be playing with them in that game. You can play, so if it's an online game, you'll be playing with random people, and you can talk to them as well, which is debatable if you want to do that or not. It's quite sorry.
And do you?
Sometimes.
Okay.
Sometimes.
I mean, I'm not familiar with sort of gaming in that respect, but I'm assuming, are there sort of security settings with that, and how does that work?
So you can receive messages from people you can receive messages from anyone unless you have certain settings on where it prevents them from messaging you unless like you're friends with them. So it's quite secure in that way.
Cool. I think the pertinent question around here was sort of did you feel that you could express yourself more playing computer games than otherwise? Certainly with lockdown, you may not be able to express yourself on a sports field, or express yourself in the classroom, or express yourself on the stage, or whatever it is you do as an extracurricular activity. Do you feel that gaming kind of fills the void, or it's just a whole different thing?
No, so I think I was gaming like alongside all the other things I was doing when COVID wasn't an issue, but it does, I think, fill more space, especially when you're not doing those things, because it's something you can just eat. It's easily accessible. You can literally just hop onto it anytime, and yeah, and just have a good time with your mates. So it's definitely a void filler sometimes.
Yeah, so I mean, a point being made by Brother Ove saying, how social is social gaming? Has it replaced the playground?
That is a good point, actually. I do feel like for a lot of people it has. It's kind of, you don't need to see them anymore. You can just talk to them online. Like, personally, I don't feel that. I much prefer like interactions face to face, because yeah, you can get a lot more emotion out of them, and like it's a lot more fun to be able to interact with someone face to face rather than just on the phone. So personally, for me, I don't think it's replaced the playgrounds, but I think in general it probably has.
Interesting. So would you save the playground? Would you bring back the playground?
I think there was a grey area in between where there's the playground and there's the gaming, and like you can have a good time on both, but I think that's maybe slowly moving away from that and going just towards gaming.
Yeah, because I think Brother Avase was wanting to call this session, rather, this one's called the new normal, but he was wanting to call it Law of the Playground. And I think Omar T asked what's the playground kind of thing. So I mean, there's a generation gap right there. So jumpers for goalposts, have you heard of that expression?
Yeah.
Right, okay, so I'm not that old. Fine. Adil, are you a gamer?
My gamer, I actually I started during lockdown, which is pretty nice. Yeah.
And what are you playing?
Mostly what am I playing? Yeah, FIFA. A lot of FIFA. Pro clubs. Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, because they've been telling me for a long time to get gaming with them. And I've never had the time, and I've had the time like during lockdown. So I started, and it's actually really good.
Okay.
Boy without the feet.
Yeah, so that was the issue. All my friends are gamers. I think I'm the only one who doesn't have a console. And but my argument was always, why would you try and do that when you could just go and play football? But the situation now is maybe you can't go and play football. I mean, do you feel that does it substitute at all in any way?
You know what? I think it does, because okay, so I used to talk with my mates just on Skype. But there's a whole different world when you're doing something together and you're talking to each other at the same time. It's like just, yeah, it's so much better when you're doing something, you're working towards a common goal and then talking to each other rather than just talking to each other.
So you know what I mean? I'm assuming, so there's got to be bants involved there as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, okay. So is it a bit like, it's probably the wrong analogy to use, but playing cards where you're doing something, but you're talking all the way through it?
No, I think that's a good analogy to use. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a bit more intense though, I think, right? I mean, I've watched some of the kids playing FIFA. I mean, gosh.
Lee, you're a gamer. You're a secret gamer, bro.
Well, you know what? Actually, I used to game a lot when I was younger. Like, I was a heavy duty gamer. I mean, obviously, I'm a tech, right? Up until I probably started working, I used to play all kinds of games. I mean, I was a Street Fighter pro. I used to have blisters on my thumbs because we used to have tournaments. It's that kind of gaming I used to do in the old days. But I have seen the kids now playing FIFA, and I think the games have become obviously a lot more interactive and heavily. Sorry about the chiming in the background.
It's you again. Why do you?
Well, because I'm sitting next to a clock. So I was going to say that the gaming has become a lot more advanced now, and it's become more of a accessible service, isn't it? And especially during lockdown, what we had is kids weren't able to do very much else. It was either sitting in front of the television. Obviously, we'd do lots of family stuff, but you did need the gaming for for these guys to sort of socialize. And I saw it with my own kids. I don't know if you saw it, Amr, with your kids as well. But what Adil is talking about there, especially with the FIFA, kids who probably never gamed before found this whole new thing. In fact, even my daughter found gaming, which is, and she's, you know, single digits still.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still a Monopoly guy, but I think I need to probably get up with the times. Habiba, I've got it wrong every time so far, so I'm just going to assume you are a gamer. No, I got it. So, okay, so should we move on, or did you have anything to say about gaming?
No.
Nothing
Well,
at all.
maybe Habiba, you how about from a social media perspective? I mean,
Yes, exactly.
did you find yourself spending a lot more time on social media? I don't know whether it was talking or snapping or Instaing or my gosh, even TikToking.
TikTok.
Oh no, not TikTok. So at the beginning of lockdown, I did use social media more, but as I got on, I kind of forgot about my phone. So my phone was off most of the time because you just see the same thing every day. So it just got kind of tiring after a while, trying to find other things to do.
So did you find yourself kind of losing time, what they call scrolling, I think it is?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh.
The days went really fast.
And how about your peer group? I mean, did you find that there was a lot of peer pressure to be on social media more? And were they using it much more as well?
I actually didn't feel any pressure. I feel like I mainly just use social media to check up on people or catch up with them like every once in a while. The main apps on my phone are just, I don't really use Instagram or Snapchat as much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I don't know. I don't really use my phone as much as I thought I would.
Oh, great. I don't know if we've got time, Amri, just to ask Zen the question about social media. I mean, because I think it's be interesting to hear whether or not there was a massive increase of usage or were they just heavy users already. I don't know, Zen, if
We
you're there.
we got loads of time, and one of the feedback from last session was that we didn't give it enough time. So we've got plenty of time. That's not a problem. But
Brilliant.
Khalid, can you check the mutings?
Yeah, I think everybody is muted. Oh yeah, you're right. Actually, quite right. Zen, you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
So from your perspective, how has the social media side been?
So at the start of lockdown, me and my friends, we started to use this app called House Party quite a lot. So it's like FaceTime, but you can have up to 8 people in a room. So you can easily just, it's like a wave. So you press a button, it gives a notification to that person saying this person wants to talk. So yeah, I use that quite a lot with school friends, Muslim friends in the community, like almost every couple of nights. And that is, yeah, it was just to kind of fill the void of not seeing them in real life. Snapchat and Instagram, I'd say I kind of just used them the same amount. TikTok, I didn't really get into. I just, yeah, I'm not a fan of TikTok.
Me either, to be frank. But however, nor of Instagram and Snapchat either. But nonetheless, I can see that this is something that is very much pertinent in your age groups, and so it's interesting to kind of know the perspective. So tell me why you don't like TikTok and why you sort of preferred House Party.
I think I just find TikTok kind of cringe. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay, great. Well, it's
fine.
good to hear.
What
about? Sorry, Amr.
So just while you're sort of talking about social media, so to all three of you, and this is a question that's come up on the chat, how do you feel that social media or online platforms impact on psychological well-being? So I think Khalid touched upon it in terms of, does it substitute face-to-face? But and he also mentioned about sort of peer pressure, etc. I mean, do you feel that it gives you any level of anxiety? Anyone?
Yeah, so I really think it depends on how you use social media, to be honest. If you're using it as just a way to connect to people, I think it's absolutely fine. If you're using it as a way to compare yourself or to make yourself seem better than other people, then I think that's when it becomes dangerous. Because a lot of these apps, they want you to they want to show you, they want them to make you shown in a better light, if you know what I mean. And it makes you compare yourself to others and stuff like that. So I think it's just a slippery slope from there.
So are you talking about sort of trying to get more likes and more shares and that kind of thing?
Yeah, because I think some people it gets to them. But yeah, it shouldn't really get into affect your real life. I think social media should be just an outlet, not an outlet, but like kind of just using it when it has to be used.
Sure. Habib, I mean, have you experienced any sort of anxiety with social media? I mean, you sound like a very well balanced young lady, so you probably sort of use it very well. But I mean, if it's not you, have you heard of cyberbullying or anxiety through social media with any of your friends or family?
Yeah, okay. So there are positives and negative impacts of social media. So when it comes to the negative ones, I think the first thing is news. Like news is really informative, but I think sometimes it can be a bit overwhelming, especially when some people have experienced what's going on in the news. So that is the negative side, and especially maybe during teen years, social media is a place where bullying happens quite frequently, but it's also gotten to the point where it's so bad that other people are laughing at it. They find it funny, so people kind of forget that there's a real person behind the screen. So I think that's also a negative part of social media. The positives are you can use social media as Islamic reminders, keep in touch with friends, look at things that are funny, like funny memes and stuff. So that's the cool side. But like Adil said, if you do, no one's going to post something bad on their social media. So everyone's going to be in a really bright light. So when you start comparing yourself to others, it's kind of like a slippery slope because everyone has their own time. So social media isn't always going to be real life. It's just what people decide to put out there about themselves.
Zen, from the younger age group, I mean, how are you finding social media generally in terms of communication? Do you feel any anxiety through social media?
Personally, I don't. Alhamdulillah. Not many of. I don't think any of my friends do, or they haven't told me about it if they have. But I think it is possible, especially with. I think group chats is quite dangerous sometimes, because anyone can. If, for example, people are backstabbing you, a group of people are backstabbing one person, they could add that one person to a group chat, and they could say whatever they like to them, and it could be quite damaging to their mental health. So I think in that sense it is dangerous because anyone can say anything to you, and because they're behind the screen, you can't. And because there could be maybe more than one of them all kind of ganging up on you, it is dangerous in that sense. I think people can be quite toxic online, and because it's behind the screen, it's not face to face, where so it's anyone can act a lot bigger and stronger online than in real life.
Yeah, I think that's the concern, because you're not sort of held accountable straight away, because like you said, you're hiding behind it. So no, thank you for that. I think just to tie up that sort of question, again on the chat, we wanted to get suggestions on how perhaps the mosque community could use online platforms or social media to better engage the youth. I know we've very recently sort of started the social media channels. We haven't sort of developed that yet, but we are on Twitter. We have started, or we are on Facebook, but we haven't developed that yet. I mean, how would you see or would like? How would you like to see the masjid engaging you at that level? Any of you?
So Alhamdulillah, talks like these are actually really informative and really nice to see, because then the youth can basically see themselves being represented and being able to talk about things that are important to them. Sometimes it's not always going to be related to Islam. Maybe it's just like normal day-to-day things that they need help with, and that's cool as well. With social media, I think it's just maybe more like youth, is the word youth ambassadors. So more people like our age promoting events like these, or going to events and seeing like making new friends, creating like a friendship group where everyone's like reminding themselves of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I think that's really important.
So do you think this sort of thing is a good thing to do? It's useful?
Yes, definitely, alhamdulillah. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because obviously, the reason why we're doing these things essentially is because the masjid has been in lockdown, and we're wondering whether there's any value in sort of keeping going with these once the masjid is open. And it is opening tomorrow, but on a small scale. So, but it's good feedback to get from you that you find it useful. Adil, I think Wi-Fi's dropped out, so he's going to rejoin us at some point. But Zen, from the younger age group, is there anything you'd like from the masjid to sort of do on an online platform to reach out to your age group?
Yeah, again, I agree with Habiba that this kind of thing is quite good from a youth perspective as well. I think maybe one thing on different social media platforms, what you could do potentially for an Islamic point of view, on social media platforms, post regularly, a couple of times a week, a few times a week, maybe an Islamic quote, maybe a story from the Prophet, something like that, which is easily accessible for the youth, since they use these platforms all the time. So if they're following you, if they're following your account, then they could easily just see this every day in their feed, which would definitely increase their knowledge without maybe them even having to like join a call, go to a lecture, read something like that they've maybe been told to read. It's just there that they can easily see.
Yeah, like kind of thought for the day, or dua for the day.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. And what platform would you prefer, Zain, if that was going to be something that we would consider?
I'd say Facebook isn't used a lot by the youth, so maybe Instagram, Twitter potentially, yes, but I'd say Instagram probably is the main one, which most of the youth have, and is probably the easiest one to use for this.
Yeah, I mean, my understanding of Instagram, and Khalid, you would be able to comment on this from your business, is that it's very pictorial. So, I mean, is it still something that you would follow if there was kind of written messages, or is it just you looking for pictures, basically?
No, so you could like screenshot a dua or a quote, and then that image would come up on your feed as like, so that there are, yeah, so it would come up in a pictorial form, but it would still be the quote.
Yeah, I have to say that, I mean, it is very pictorial. I mean, although from my perspective, we do also put some narrative around the imagery, but also what works really well is kind of having a short video reminder. So it could be like a sheikh just giving a literally 10 seconds reminder, or it could be like the quote or even the hadith. I think that works really, really well. I don't know if you guys agree with that. But I actually wanted to sort of expand a little bit more there and say, well, from your perspective, from our community's perspective, do you feel up until now what we have been providing from a digital point of view, is it kind of connecting with your age groups? Have you guys kind of been listening in over sort of the reminders, of the weekly reminders for Jummah, for example, or during Ramadan, the speakers' corners, or is this kind of really your first sort of interaction from a digital perspective?
Adil, welcome back. So we'll fire that at you. Did you get the question?
Yeah, I got the question. Yeah. Yeah. So I think during Ramadan it was good. I was enjoying some of the speakers' corners and that. But I'm not sure about the Jummah reminders. Where have they been posted?
So Jummah reminders, I mean, it's a sort of substitute for Friday khutbah, with the masjid being closed. I mean, less so now because lots of masjids have been opening, but Jummah reminders been going from, you know, as soon as lockdown happened. I think the point Khalik was making was, you know, what do you get from what we're already doing, but what would you like us to do more?
Yeah. Yeah, maybe. I think what we're doing right now is good. However, there's always one step further, isn't there? I'm not sure right now off the top of my head how you can go further, but I'm sure there'll be ways. I also really like what we're doing right now, which is the live on YouTube, and I think that the video stays on there, doesn't it?
It does. If you guys are happy with us to leave it on, we'd love to leave it on. You know, Habiba and Zan, if you guys are happy, because I know you guys have been speaking alongside us. But that's what I was going to actually ask about, is whether you guys are happy for us to leave it on, because we'd love to continue to have this as as something that is left on YouTube for others to benefit from.
I'm glad you launched YouTube, Khalik, because I forgot to press the record button again.
No, that's okay. It's okay, because it's recording on YouTube, so we'll be fine.
MashaAllah. Well done. Okay. So now, in terms of subject material, you guys, I mean, we've sort of touched upon the lockdown experience and COVID scenarios. Are there subjects that you would like to talk about outside of that, and are there perhaps even for future Sheikhs breaks, or even now? I mean, we have a little bit of time, but we could perhaps sort of venture away from the lockdown situation and just talk sort of more generically about other topics that you are interested in or think we need to sort of touch upon. Habiba, is there anything that you feel that, you know, we've missed in terms of discourse generally as an ummah, as a community? Is there something that, you know, burns within you that we need to talk about?
I'm not too sure. I'm really not sure.
No, maybe... no, I didn't mean to put you on the spot like that.
That's okay.
I mean, mental health is something that, you know, I've talked a lot about with brothers and sisters at the masjid, and certainly with the sort of the youth we want to engage with at that level and find out what is it that actually stresses them out, what is it that is on their mind, and that's part of why we were talking about the questions earlier on, to try and drill down into what the baseline feeling is for certain things. So, I mean, what stresses you out basically?
Oh, well,
being put on the spot. Well, we'll come back to you. We'll come back to you.
I was going to say.
Adil, we'll let Habib off the hook for a minute. And Adil, in terms of your age group, let's take it from, you know, teenage boy perspective. What are the current sort of stresses?
I think one thing that's becoming bigger is how schools are treating certain situations, and how to deal with stuff that's going in schools. So one of the things would be, as a Muslim, how do I react to an LGBTQ talk going on in school? And that's something that's quite taboo, I think. But yeah, I think it needs to be talked about. So stuff like that.
Let's talk about it. I mean, we got time. I mean, what are you saying? I mean, do you feel that schools are pushing that agenda and making Muslims feel like they should just accept that?
Yeah, definitely. Well, for the school that I went to anyway, I think that's definitely the agenda they're pushing.
And how does that make you feel? Oh, I think your Wi-Fi's dropped out, Adil. But Habiba, can I come back to you because Adil's Wi-Fi's dropped out. Can you fill in for him?
Oh, sorry. Okay, what was the question?
So the question was, in terms of what the stresses are for his age group at school.
Yeah.
He mentioned that one of the issues was surrounding the curriculum and schools pushing an LGBT agenda.
Yeah.
And how I was about to ask him how did that make him feel? So I'll ask the same question to you if that's all right.
I don't really feel a type of way about it. I think when it comes to reacting to these sort of things, I think we have to go back to the characteristics of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. We have to go back to the manners that we're supposed to deal with things. And I don't think it's a thing of not necessarily even though you have to sit down in the assembly and you have to learn about it. You can sit down, you have to learn about it, but I feel like getting up and leaving, it may upset others. So I'm just always thinking about being kind and being tolerant. There are people in our community who are also like confused and struggling with those kind of subjects. So I don't think it's fair for us to immediately dismiss. And when it's asked for us to sit down and watch the assembly, if an individual as you are uncomfortable, then obviously you can talk to a teacher. But in school, I think it is just a matter of being kind, being kind and being tolerant, even for a 30-minute assembly, just sitting down, listening. You don't have to take it in. It's just a matter of personal preference, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, I was actually gonna ask further out on that. I mean, you talk about tolerating that for that period of time. Do you feel they also address sort of topics that are pertinent that they feel that there should be awareness for, or do you think that these kind of agendas are primarily sort of addressed, but some of the others are not?
What do you mean by that, sorry?
So, like for example, I mean, I've been listening in about sort of kind of like the school, for example, up north, where this topic is kind of a little bit related to, and many of the schools are talking about it as are ours. But some of the things that they don't kind of talk much about is the diversity of kind of the people who go into the school, with different backgrounds of kids. Outside of it being an LGBTQ kind of scenario. Do you feel that is something that you notice or not really?
I'm sorry. Do you mean as in like talks about people from different backgrounds?
Yeah, so for example, like, there isn't that much about, they don't really talk much about, people who might come to pick up their kids who are Muslim or Jewish or Hindu or Sikh, or come from different parts of, I don't know, Eastern Europe or whatever. I mean, there's a huge influx of agendas for, LGBTQ+, but on the flip side, there's not that same level of kind of people talking much about, diversity of the kids, or the kids who are in the schools at the moment.
So I definitely think that in proportion, it is unproportionate, basically. So there are so many topics in schools that are undiscussed. I think, as well as doing a talk on LGBTQ, there are you can get students to come and talk about their experience. You can get the other talks that can be held that also will be informative. But I think this is pushed so much because I think there's a conception that, not a conception, a lot of people are dealing with it, not a lot of people are targeted by it. So they're trying to spread acceptance, but there's also other talks that need to be held as well.
Jazakallah khair, Habib. I mean, it's a really tough subject, and probably needs a bit more time. you know, we're still sort of all finding it awkward. And so, but thank you so much for giving us your thoughts. Zen, if you're still there, I mean, I wanted to go back to sort of a more generic topic of bullying. And I mean, you're at a boys' school, right?
Yeah.
I mean, how is that prevalent in? Is it prevalent? It's at Elton College, right?
Yeah.
Have you experienced any bullying? And how's it been dealt with?
So the school do try and prevent bullying as much as possible. They obviously give the necessary assemblies, talks, form times about bullying. Actually, within the school community, I would say at my school specifically, it's quite well dealt with. There isn't a lot of bullying that I've experienced, that I've seen other people experience. When you think about maybe racism and kind of banter in inverted commas, I think that can sometimes get a bit out of hand. So I know in my year there was an incident a couple of years ago where someone was racially abused, and that was dealt with accordingly.
You say accordingly, Zane. How did they deal with that?
So the two boys that were found to have been like racist, they were suspended. So I think, and that definitely did make a difference to them. Like you could tell, like just but how they acted before they got suspended and how they acted afterwards. There was a big difference.
That had a big impact.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, there's still a lot of banter, and I'd say because Elton College is it's still quite a white school. There's a lot more white people than there are of ethnic minorities, so there's always going to be a bit of casual racism, which is going to be there. So, but I think the best way to deal with that is you definitely should not try and go back against these people, because that's going to escalate the problem for you, especially since you're going to be in a minority, which means you won't have as much backing as other people would. So the best way to deal with that is definitely tell a teacher, and yeah, just be patient about it and try and keep your calm as much as possible.
Do you feel at Elton, Zane, that they're proactive about? I mean, do they sort of talk about bullying in the classroom environment? Do they have a lesson on it? Do they sort of teach you how to handle it? I mean, is that done in the curriculum these days?
A little bit, yeah. So there's the occasional, yeah. So there's assemblies which are given. There's form times which are specifically directed at bullying, things like that, which will definitely help the situation. There's well-being PSHE lessons. So I think 2 periods a week we get PSHE lessons, which cover a variety of topics including bullying.
Yeah, I think Eltham do it quite well all the way through, from the junior all the way up to the senior school. I think I have to say it's been quite impressive in the way in which they kind of sort of deal with that scenario. Do you sort of agree with that?
Yeah, I do definitely agree with that. Yeah.
So one question that's just come up on the chat, and thank you for that. It's a great question. Is how do you guys feel about the drinking culture within schools? And we could throw drugs into that as well. I know that gets sort of swept under the carpet, and sort of peer pressure to join in. Maybe not even in the actual activity, but just sort of in the environment. Adil?
Yeah, I think it's all about who you're friends with and making a right friend group from really the early stages. And yeah, obviously you can have some friends that you were friends with before, and then you've realized that they're obviously not down the right path or whatever. And it can be hard to try and cut them off as such, or distance yourself. but I think it's something that has to be done, just for your own sake. Yeah, I think it's all about getting into the right crowd. Yeah, and it's quite hard though, because obviously it is normal in schools like ours, but obviously you'll find mates that will think the same as you everywhere, inshallah, anyway. And yeah, really have to make sure you're good friends with them, I think.
And when you're exposed to it, you know, is the school quite candid about it, or when you're sort of exposed about people, your peer group talking about it, or even maybe using it around you guys, how do you guys kind of deal with that?
I think it's very situational. If people are just joking about it, I don't really take it to heart much. I don't know, some people might, but I don't feel like it affects me that much because I know my own morals and my own values, so I don't think it's that important. But of course, if they're doing it around you, then you have to make sure that you're distancing yourselves and really think about who your friends really are.
Okay. Can I'll come back to this, but one thing that occurred to me, you mentioned about banter and sort of low-level racism, basically. I mean, Ali, if you're still on the call, I know in the last session with Black Lives Matter, you talked about the sort of casual banter that happened in and around your school friends that I have to say we sort of cringed at a little bit and thought that, you know, that may not have been acceptable and is probably more racist than you think. I mean, Ali, if you'd like to come back on the call and just sort of comment on that.
Assalamu alaikum. So I mean, what I was saying last time is, the thing is, you know, with school, it's a very different environment to the normal kind of environment that you know you're used to once you leave school, because you know with it's not the same as being with or being in the mosque or being in a workplace or anything like that. It's because, you know, obviously, you know, it's a bunch of teenagers who are all going through adolescence, all going through the same sort of, you know, hormones, everything, and so the level of banter that you can have, it does get to an unacceptable level, but because of the way, I mean, really, I'm talking about sort of people who are maybe in like year 9 or 10, that age, yeah, it does get to an unacceptable level because, you know, people at that age don't really have boundaries. I mean, you know, can have boundaries, but you tend to push them. You want to push them and see how far you go. And you know, if you have friends from different backgrounds in school, you still. I mean, you might want to learn their culture, understand their culture, but then, you know, you want to joke with them as well. And really, what I was getting at was last time was not the just being racist, like, you know, oh, you're from this ethnicity or you're that. It's more sort of commenting on and joking about stereotypes, and I think there's the fine line between joking about stereotypes and being racist. And yeah, that's what I was trying to get at last time. I know it probably came across as, you know, not probably what you expect, but I think, yeah, school is a very different environment where, you know, we all want to joke about just stereotypes, really. And even when you go on Instagram and these social media platforms, a lot of the memes actually center around just stereotypes, and it's just joking about, you know, that kind of stuff. And there is a boundary, of course, but yeah, I think that's really what I was trying to get at.
Okay, thank you, Ali. So we're sort of almost coming up to time on this session, so I just wanted to open it up to the rest of the participants. Is there anyone that wants to sort of chip in, please feel free to unmute yourselves and comment, say anything at all, even if it's just hi. But if you had any feedback or comments to make, yeah.
So yeah, hey, Assalamu alaikum, it's Abbas here. So, sorry, I just liked asking questions as well. So I've got a quick question. Habiba, you said something around kind of the news, and I can't remember what you exactly said, but I think it was around as in the way there's so much news on social media and it can become quite toxic in a way. So I just wanted to understand in terms of negative Islamic news, how have you seen impacts of that in the school in terms of the way people kind of refer to Islam or kind of treat you, especially with you wearing hijab and stuff? I'm really curious to hear about that.
Oh, okay. So in secondary school, I think it was taken quite it wasn't really that nice. So there were a couple people who would say a couple stuff, and I did experience kind of like not nice things and like things thrown on me and stuff. So when it comes to things like that, and I know that in social media now, there's a lot of girls who wear hijab who experience the same sort of thing, and obviously it does happen a lot. So because when you wear hijab, you basically represent Islam in a way, so you're visible. So it's easy for people to unprovoked, you may not have even said anything, just randomly start a conversation with you, like challenging you and like asking about your faith and asking like questions to be like, are you sure they're really Muslim? And then just giving you a lecture about their preconceived ideas of Islam. And obviously they've inferred that from the news. They haven't actually looked into any of it. And sometimes you're not really because when things happen in the moment, sometimes it happens so fast that you don't actually realize what just happened. So that would happen a lot. So yeah, that was basically in terms of news and Islam being portrayed in a bad way. So that would happen. A lot of people would just the stereotypical stuff, if you get what I mean. Yeah.
Did you like have the role models or people that you could speak to about some of your experiences who could guide you in terms of how to then kind of deal with that?
Yeah, so alhamdulillah, I have my mom and I have my aunt and I have my sisters, and I do have a network of sisters, alhamdulillah, who obviously because we're all going through the same thing, it's easier to just talk about it. And in that space, you feel safe. So whatever happens outside of that space, you already know in your head like who you are. So you're already confident in what you believe.
And what about the school? Did you ever talk to them about it? And if you did, then it would be interesting to hear how they supported you.
So there was an occasion where I had to talk to the school. What basically happened was, I don't think they spoke to the students about it. They basically just told me, oh, we're sorry this happened to you. We'll try to make sure that it doesn't happen again. And then they just basically told me to ignore the girls. And that was basically it. But yeah, it was fine in the long run.
Interesting. So actually, that's a really interesting point, because I think unless you are speaking to someone like your parents, your sisters, etc., who understand and have been through something like that themselves, it's really hard for the other to be really supportive, right? Do you think there's then a role within the masjid or the kind of the Muslim community leaders to then actually speak to the school, talk to them about Islamophobia and the impact it has as well, from a mental health perspective, from a kind of confidence perspective as well?
I actually think that that's really necessarily needed. So as we're talking about talks that aren't spoken about in school, I think Islamophobia is something that also has to be addressed. I think a lot of people have misconceived ideas, obviously because of the media, and it would help if the school was aware of the impacts it has on a student and their life, that way that they can help them properly, because I don't think they're used to it. Not many girls speak up. Some girls don't even wear hijab and they still experience it. So not many of them speak up. So the school isn't aware of it as they should be.
Habiba, I think you need to be running for Prime Minister fairly soon. Okay, so
Thank you.
you have my support.
Mine too, I was going to say, and I think we should have her as a special guest more regularly.
Absolutely.
Oh, I'd love to.
Yeah.
We'll talk offline, Habiba. We're going to sign you up. There's a contract in my drawer. I'll be faxing it over.
Mine too, Habiba. Mine too. And thanks everyone. I thought it was really interesting. Jazakallah khair. Sorry about that, guys.
No, Jazakallah. Thanks for coming in. That's what we want. We want everyone who's listening to participate. So it's great to hear.
And Sophie very rarely pipes up, so that's the introvert that she is.
Well, so it's a family. It's a family affair.
It's a family affair. So if anyone else would like to contribute, we're almost done time-wise. So I'm going to be leaving Khalik with the closing comment and dua, inshallah. So if anyone has any burning contributions to make, now's the time. Otherwise, we're going to be drawing a line under this one. Inshallah, we'll see you next time. So.
And Amir, what is the next one, just for the audience?
Actually, Mason, since you've piped up, you might as well tell everyone.
Oh no,
I'll put you on the spot now.
yeah, no. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. So obviously, we're trying to do this as a monthly activity, and actually just to bring ideas to the community, bring kind of different people, different concepts, different ideas. The next one we will be talking about more humanitarian work. So we've got a couple of guests that will be coming on. We'll surprise you with who the guests are later on. And inshallah, there'll be an opportunity to understand how they've actually taken their passion or their career into the humanitarian world, how they've done, they've decided that they want to do something, make a difference, and what they've done to get there. So there will be a really special conversation. So inshallah, I hope everyone can join and listen in. And also, please share this around to friends and family. This isn't just about a Keston thing. We want anyone to have access to the questions we ask, the information we're trying to kind of gear out of the participants. So please do share the talks out to friends and family.
Well said, Awais. I mean, the point of online platforms is that it's available to everyone. I mean, you can have your cousins in the States or India or wherever it is join. So
global.
It's global. AEC is a global phenomenon. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I think, Awais, we've got after the humanitarian one, I think the one after that is a revert special. So we're sort of busy lining these things up. So inshallah, we've got some great stuff on the horizon. So please join in. And as Awais says, just share, and share again. So Khalik, over to you. Can you close with a dua, please?
Yeah, inshallah. I'm just going to finish up with saying Jazakallah to all the guests and everyone who participated, which is as always fantastic. Especially you guys in the youth community. We desperately want the interaction with yourselves, and we want to continue with that. So just please do continue to join us and interact, and we'd like to see you guys on these Sheikhs breaks and all the others as well. The other thing I was going to just say is that Masjid is still closed. It's not a real plug, but Sheikhs breaks started with us plugging the Masjid and the importance of donating. So please do, if you have an opportunity, tell your friends and family, remind them that we have been closed for a long time, although we are opening in a very limited amount. Please do try to open your heart and give and donate to the Masjid. You go to the website, all the various platforms are there. And I'm just going to end with a very, very short dua and just say, Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanatan wa fil akhirati hasanatan wa qina adhaban nar. Ya Allah, please accept all of our duas. Please accept all of the work that we are doing through the Al-Emaan Center and all those who are interacting and participating. Please bless all of the youth who have joined us today and who are in our community and around the world. give all of the children who have gained their results the success in this life and in the hereafter, and make the results that they are anticipating give them success this life and the hereafter, inshallah. I mean, Ya Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, please forgive us and forgive any shortcomings, and allow us to practice upon what's been taught and learnt and heard today, and may us continue with going through all of this interaction through social media. And tomorrow is a big day for the masjid where it opens. May Allah ta'ala please give it blessings and also bring khair to the opening, inshallah. Ameen Rabbil Alameen, Ameen Ya Rabbil Alameen. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati ma yasifun, wa salamun ala al-mursaleen, walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.
Jazakallah khair, Khalik, for your lovely dua and dulcet tones. I'd just like to thank all the participants on my behalf as well. Habiba, Jazakallah khair. You have my vote, as I said before. Adil, once again, best left back since Cafu. And Zain, thank you so much. I didn't even organize for you to come on. So thank you so much for joining. Inshallah, maybe we can get Abdullah James back on another time. Jazakallah khair to all the participants that joined. And just to echo Avais's thoughts about sharing the Sheikhs breaks around so that everyone can join in. We'd like to see an increase in sort of level of participation. This is for the community, and we want you to tell us what you want, what you'd like. So Jazakallah khair. So I think that's a wrap, guys. So inshallah, see you at the masjid tomorrow.
Inshallah, inshallah. Make
well
dua
done,
for us.
guys.
Okay.
Well done, well done.
Okay.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. I'm going to end it now, but look forward to seeing you guys in the next session. Take care, guys. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.